Well, good morning, Cam.
Good morning, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing good. Audio issues aside this morning, Audio Hijack not Audio Hijack, Audio Edition didn't want to behave. So we had to work around some issues. But beyond that, if you were watching the live stream, you got to listen into all of our banter while that was going on. But I did decide to give the live stream a shot this morning, so I hope hope it didn't suck too bad.
Well, folks, we're not even putting it behind a paywall like other podcasts.
No,
it's not. It's not InnerDialogue Plus or InnerDialogue Extra.
You get what you pay for, though. I'm just saying.
Well, that we're just out of the benevolence of our predictator, we give you what you pay for.
That would be me. I am the benevolent predictator. I still can't say it right. So anyway,
it's all right. You'll grow into it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not the one that has to say it. You all, my subjects, have to say it. So, all right.
Da 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 da. Now I have that part
so
from
stupid.
Hamilton stuck in my head.
I'm so stupid. Forgive me.
No, you're not.
All right. Anyway, so I wanted to kick off the show talking about a couple of quick follow-up items. We talked about healthy habits essentially last week, whether it was digital, physical, stuff like that. So did you have any updates on any of that stuff? Because I got one real quick update.
No, it's just hard to be consistent, man.
Oh yeah.
With new habits, So, I mean, like that, you start off really good, and then you're like, oh, then you kind of like, meh, and then you either at this point either quit or the curve starts to go back the other way. I'm in that dip, right? That you hear a lot of people talk right now. It's like, oh, I know I'm supposed to stop eating at 7, but it's Friday and I'm watching a movie and having some chips sounds really good, right?
Little popcorn.
So yeah, I'm in that bit of that dip right now where it's like, okay, this is the make or break stretch of like, I need to kick it back or, it'll be another statistic, but maybe you talking about this today will give me the motivation I need to kick my own butt.
So I decided to start judging the apps on my phone. So I have 2 folders now on my home screen. One of them's called Worthy of My Time, and the other one is called Waste of Time.
Okay.
So which is funny because I have like 7 apps in my Worthy folder, and I have 3 apps in my Waste folder. So I think I'm doing okay. So, and
it's a 70% ratio.
FYI, Instagram is in my Waste folder.
I mean,
I put a couple games in there, and waste of time isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, if you're going to just kill some time, you might as well grab a app that's worthy of your time, as opposed to something that's a waste of your time. So,
what apps are in your Worthy?
That's an excellent question. Let me take a look and see. So I have Logos. My Logos Bible app is in my Worthy folder. So that's a given. I have an app called Natural Reader that I just tried because Speechify is incredibly expensive and doesn't give you a monthly option. So Natural Reader essentially is like Speechify, where you can put text into it and it will read it to you. But I think Natural Reader actually does a better job of that. So it's much smoother. They use AI, to I put that in quotes. They use AI. Well, I have to say something for the people that aren't watching the live stream,
Yeah.
But Natural Reader, the voices are much better. So if I stick a PDF into Natural Reader that has headers and footers and stuff like that, the power of the AI is it learns that it doesn't need to read that stuff, and it actually puts a little like robot, a sad faced robot over it to show that it's not going to read it. And it doesn't do charts either. So that might be something that you just pay attention to. But I've got Notion in there as well. So I just about Natural Reader, I recommend it. give it a try. If you guys like to have your computers read to you. Kindle. I have the New York Times Games app in there because you got me hooked on that.
Good man.
I have Audible in there because, typically speaking, if I'm using Audible, I don't see that as a waste of time.
Oh, you said Audible. Okay, I misunderstood. Yeah, I thought you said Audible, and I was like, well, I don't know what that is. Okay, yeah, Audible. Good man.
I had an app come through my Instagram feed the other day, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was an app. Head something.
Headspace?
No, it wasn't Headspace. It was a different one. But essentially, what it did is it gave you access to book summaries, and it would read the book summaries to you as well because it had them in audio as well. So that was kind of nice. But I thought to myself, as a good Christian boy, like I should probably have something like that has Christian books in it and like theological books and stuff like that. I came across one called Holy Reads that I'm giving a try right now. It's an awful name. It's an awful name, but
yeah, but I just don't understand why it feels like the norm of Christian versions of things always have the worst names. Oh. It's like no one that believes in Jesus knows how to market.
Right.
Which feels like an evangelism problem, frankly.
No, you're not wrong. It's terrible.
It's so bad. Like what's their Netflix ripoff?
Oh,
PureFlix, I think it's called.
Well, I know that there's VidAngel, which is, I don't know that's not necessarily Christian, but it filters out for profanity and violence and stuff like that from shows.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to go down that trail. I
can't remember what that's called, but it's bad.
So it's called Holy Reads.
Holy Reads. Yeah. So I'm just giving it a shot right now. I'm in like trial mode, so it's not I'm not paying for anything.
How's the library?
It seems pretty selective. The problem with Christian literature is that there's so much diversity that it's really hard to find stuff that you want to listen to or read.
May I recommend Crossway.org?
Crossway.org.
I have so many other books.
Yeah. So I thought I'd give it a try and see, and so far it's probably not going to stick, but and then I have my chess app in there because I feel like chess is a worthy thing because it's helps to build the brain and
we haven't played chess in ages, Mitch.
No, we have not. So are you interested in getting beat again or what?
I believe if you check our game history, there's a reason we stopped playing each other, and it wasn't because I was losing.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what's in my worthy. The waste folder has Instagram, the Alto's Odyssey Lost City in there, and a solitaire game. So I think I've talked about solitaire stories on the show before. That's in there.
Yeah, you mentioned. Yeah, I played that for a little while.
Yeah. It's a good little game. It's pretty. So
yeah,
I like things.
I wish that you could put like cover, like have the folder have like a cover icon.
Yeah.
So instead of like seeing mini apps, you could just put like, and it could be Wayne and Garth doing "I'm not worthy" on their knees, and that could be your cover art for the not worthy folder or waste of time folder.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I was just thinking of making like an angel and demon, but anyway, that seems a little extreme.
And then your background, hear me out. Your background is just a picture of you, and those folders sit on your shoulders, so it's like extra.
Yeah, good. I can make that happen. All right.
Anyways,
as far as like physical health is concerned, I'm starting a regiment and I'm going to try it for a little while and see how it works for me. But have you seen like the Athletic Greens?
Oh yeah. I've seen ads for those.
So I decided that I need to try something for months now. I've just felt really cloggy and really just mentally and physically, like I just haven't felt good. And so I've been changing my diet. I've been eating more salads. I've been trying to get more greens, and I started these athletic greens. And you'll have to look them up and see if it's something that's for you. But they come from Whole Foods. They're non-GMO. They're all like really good, pure, clean stuff. And then they have tons of essential vitamins and like everything that your body needs. There are prebiotics, probiotics. It's supposed to improve your gut health. It's just, everything. It's supposed to really do a little bit of everything for you. And so I thought, I could use a little everything done for me. So I'm gonna give it a shot. So,
when you put it like that, it makes a lot of sense. Do they taste good?
The first day, not knowing what to expect, I took a sip of it and I was like, I'm not sure about this. They say the flavor is pineapple vanilla, which think maybe pineapple ice cream.
Interesting.
But it's not. Of course, it's got all the greens in it, so you get that green flavor to it too. And I wouldn't say it's quite like drinking grass, but it has a little bit of like that greeny flavor to it. I'll tell you, after the first day that I tried it, I actually don't mind it. I could drink more than they allow me to, but I can't. So because it might be too much. So, but the welcome kits that they've been doing have been. You buy the athletic greens and you get a bunch of stuff for free. So like the bottle was free. It's a nice little bottle. And they came with, was it a 5-pack of the travel packs of athletic greens? And then came with a little vial of, I sound like I'm doing an ad. I'm sorry. And then they came with a little vial of D3K2 supplement. Which
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I wanted to look into it, but I did start taking it. It comes with a little eyedropper, and you take 1 drop a day, so it's supposed to last for like a year. But thought I'd give that a try. I'm assuming it just helps with mood and more gut health stuff and that. So, but I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But I trust them, so I don't think they're poisoning me. So.
Let's hope not.
Be bad for business. We killed all our customers.
Turns out killing your customers is not a sustainable process.
Right. But I can follow up on the show here and let you guys know how it works out for me. But so far, after about a week of using it, I'm noticing a little bit of a difference. Like I'm definitely more awake this morning and more alert. Some of that could have to do with it's the first time I've gotten 8 hours of sleep in a while too. So, yeah, so that could have an effect.
Yeah, dude, sleep is. I love sleep.
Yeah. Well, most nights I'm getting to bed, 8:30. Well, 8:30 is wind down. Usually by 9:30 we're lights out. But then we're back up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, which should be enough, but it never seems like it is. So I got 8 hours and 2 minutes of sleep last night, according to my bed. And I was in bed for almost 10 hours. So yeah, I woke up a few times.
Yeah. I woke up at 5:24 for no reason and did not fall back asleep until like 7.
Yeah.
But I still got my 8 hours, just with a nice little hour and a half opposite nap in the middle.
All right. So I'm going to throw it to you now. You got some website updates you wanted to talk about. Yeah.
So I realized I hadn't really touched my website in a very long time. Not even just in like, how it looks, but like actually writing and contributing to it. And I've been telling people on this podcast to go check my website out the entire time and not really having anything new. And so, I've been reading, a really good book called Communion with the Triune God by John Owen. He lived like 400 years ago. And some of that has really just kind of sparked my, thinking about stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna write some stuff. So I updated the look and feel of my website. changed the homepage a little bit, and then I actually wrote a few things on the blog, and more, I think, appropriate to this podcast, I updated my recommended apps page, which has all of the iPhone, iPad, and Mac apps that I use on a regular basis and would highly commend to you to check out if you are looking for apps of, to use your term, worth. Apps that do their jobs really well and then get out of the way. I am a big proponent for apps that do one thing really, really well, and then when I don't want to do that thing, I can just move on with my life, right? Mm-hmm. The apps that try to do 4 or 5 things, I'm not a fan of, generally speaking. Especially if I can find an app that will do one thing. I'd rather have 3 separate apps that do individual things really, really well than one app trying to do all 3 of them, just as a general rule. But I'm a nerd, so, surprise. Mm-hmm. So anyways, it's a list. It's a very long list. But if you want to check out what I'm working with, we'll have a link in the show notes, I think.
All right. Excellent. And we can follow up on like recommended apps sometime and do a show around that. We usually hit a show like that about once a year. So, because things change. The only thing that doesn't change usually is carrot weather. So I don't know how many times we talked about carrot weather, and we just talked about it.
Yeah,
again,
well,
so,
and things change, right? Because apps will change their pricing structure or the amount they charge. New apps will come out that have a different look at it. Some apps stop getting developed, right? Or they totally pivot and do a different thing, So especially when we're dealing with nerdy stuff, right? There's always new options. Like I thought I was going to use Alfred forever. Mm-hmm. I use Raycast now.
Yeah.
But like, had you told me that 2 years ago, I'm like, no, Alfred's all I need. It's so and it's all opinion stuff too, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of it is just very subjective. So,
and I went back.
That'd
be
a fun show to do.
I went back to LaunchBar from both. I didn't really use Alfred that much, but I tried Raycast for a while and didn't really care for it. But it is what it is.
Indeed. So stay tuned for a future episode on recommended apps.
Yep. At some point, we'll do that.
Cool.
All right. You want to talk about the Vision Pro?
Sure.
There's lots come out this last week, so.
Yep.
All right. So the Vision Pro released on the 2nd. We are recording on the 10th of February. So it's been a week. A lot of our favorite podcasters have been talking about their experiences with the Vision Pro. And I've had a few opinions change a little bit. I don't know how much you've heard and how much your opinions changed, but where do you want to start?
Wherever you want to start, Mitch.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that I could see a future where this is a really exciting product. I think it's exciting where it's at right now, only because of the potential of where this product is going. I can see the possibility in my own workflow of having a Vision Pro or having a Vision device of some sort, having a like a 2 or 4 terabyte laptop, and essentially the display the larger display that I would want for that device would be the Vision Pro. And it would give me the ability to put my laptop up in my space, be able to have other apps up around me, and be able to work on stuff, do audio editing, all kinds of different stuff like that, all within the Vision Pro headset. And I wouldn't have to have 3 or 4 displays to be able to have all this stuff laid out in front of me. I would just need the one device that would do that for me. The qualifier for that is that right now the studio display, which is the one I would probably think about getting, and maybe look at something cheaper that's not an Apple display. But if I was going to get an Apple display, it would be the studio display, and that studio display is running about $1,500 right now. I forget what the exact cost is. It's $1,500-$1,600, something like that. If the Vision Pro came down to a price that was closer to that, that would get very tempting for me if I was going to start working on putting together this setup, because that's the setup eventually that I want to do is a laptop desktop type setup. So right now I have separate computers in here. So I have my iMac, and then I have my M2 MacBook Pro, or I'm sorry, MacBook Air. And and the setup works really well for me, but I do need a laptop, because I do take this elsewhere in the house and outside of the house. So what's nice about having the iMac right now, and this is the last Intel iMac that they made, the 27 inch. What's nice about having this iMac is that this ends up being kind of the hub of my whole system, because it's the one device that I keep all the files on, because I've got 2 terabytes on this hard drive. And so I can keep everything locally on this device. So if I have anything fail, I know that this device has everything. And then across the room over there, I've got the Synology that's doing the network backup. So as far as backup's concerned, that is covered outside of the iMac. But for me, my future setup is having, a laptop, that will connect to a display that will basically, the laptop will be the hub of the system. And then I don't need a separate display for that. But I can see the Vision Pro becoming part of that system. So,
well, I've got the M1 MacBook Air, and I do not have a studio display because I refuse to pay that much money for a monitor. My computer costs less than that. Like, that to me is just whatever. But I have a 4K Samsung monitor, 24 inch, and it's awesome. So,
yeah,
much cheaper. And I think I got it on Black Friday, so I think I got it for under $300. So yeah, I can tell you what you're aiming for down the line. Laptop with a desktop setup that includes the big monitor. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Got a little stand for my MacBook, and then when I want to move, unplug and I'm out. Right? It's great. So I hope that you can get your ideal setup eventually. But anyways, Vision Pro. So trying to decide how I want to piggyback on what you said. I feel like the grumpy old man in this conversation. So I watched a couple of things that Mike Hurley put out, Stephen Hackett, MKBHD. And one of the things that I just can't get over is how ridiculous they look with this thing on. But it does seem really polished for a first iteration of a product, right? The operating system, it feels it based on everything that I've read and seen, everyone's kind of blown away with how polished Vision OS is. Which means I think a couple of things. One, I think they've been working on it a whole lot longer than any of us would have guessed when they announced it. And the other thing I've seen is that people are already saying that they think this is going to replace the iPad, and that the iPad's going to become obsolete, which I think is a crazy thing to say.
So I think that there's 2 aspects to this. I don't think that the iPad goes away completely.
No, it's an I mean,
my iPad Mini, like, I can take this with me and read. The Vision Pro, like, if I want to look like the dude with the nerd helmet on, I can't. Unless I want to do that, I can't really do that. It's not convenient, to take that with you just to read something. Where this is much
and just
smaller.
Think about how many schools use iPads, right? Like, the iPad's not going away.
Yeah.
Now, it may replace the iPad in certain people's. The Vision Pro might replace the iPad in certain people's, product line.
Right.
But I still can't even wrap my head around that. The Vision Pro is not a tablet. You know, like so how do you buy this 3,500? And maybe I just haven't had it explained to me by someone who actually said this, but like, how do you even compare what a tablet does to what Vision OS is trying to do? Well, how is that even a comparable?
I think that
situation.
They talked about this a little bit on Connected this last week.
Okay, I haven't listened.
And Federico didn't have his yet when they recorded, so they were talking a little bit about that. And I think the interesting thing is to hear what Federico thinks about his work with the iPad and Vision Pro and how he handles that. My personal opinion about this, or what I can see happening, is I think the iPad could be in a little bit of trouble, and here's why. I think that the people are more and more going back to the Mac for productivity. People that had this pie in the sky idea about how the iPad was going to replace and going to be more portable, and it was going to be a better productivity device for people who are on the go, are starting to realize that you have to jump through this hoop and that hoop and this hoop and that hoop to try and get done what you want to get done, that you can do much more natively on a Mac. And I've seen that happen with a few of the people that we listen to regularly in podcasts. Probably one canary in the coal mine that I would look at is Mike Hurley, is that he made the choice, a few years ago, that he's just not pursuing trying to figure out how to do the stuff on the iPad anymore. Federico's even dialed back a lot of his productivity stuff on the iPad. As much as a proponent of the iPad as he is, he's looking at, it's easier to do it on the Mac.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the Vision Pro, which runs essentially the same, very similar back end of the operating system. That's basically iPad OS is where Vision Pro developed out of, and that's very evident in the way that you use it. Obviously, you're, the apps,
and resizing the window, all that looks just like it does, or eerily close to.
Yeah, but the iPad I'd say the Vision OS is almost like the perfect marriage between an iPad in a productivity environment, an iPad and the MacBook or a Mac, because you can bring the Mac into it and get work done. You can use a lot of iPad apps, not all of them. And then a lot of iPad apps that are being converted into Vision OS apps, there's just like this synergy between the two that I think if I'm looking at a budget for, like, if I'm putting together a new studio and I'm looking at a budget and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get that like 4 terabyte hard drive in a M2 MacBook Air or MacBook Pro or something like that, so that I have that really good machine, that really good laptop. What's the next step for me? Well, am I going to get an iPad so that I can have like another device here, another screen? I would say the one exception for me would be I do a lot of reading on the iPad mini. So it can't really replace the iPad mini, but if I was rocking an iPad Pro and I wasn't doing drawing and stuff like that, but I was using it for typing, for, that sort of stuff, I think that the Vision Pro does it just fine at that. And there's improvements that could be made from where it's at right now, but I think it's doing a decent job of that. On top of that, I get the larger screen for my MacBook in the Vision Pro as well. On top of that, I get a device that I can watch movies in. I can do games, and there's different things that I can do within that. And one of the things that sells me a little bit on this is, I think it was Jason Snell was talking the other day. I want to say it was him. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was in one of the environments in the Vision Pro. I think it was I forget what the name of it was, but it's the mountain in Hawaii. And these environments are live, like not literally live, like live streamed, but but they're living, and they're like videos with sound and all that. So it sells you into being in this environment. He said he decided it was Jason Snell, because he was going to lay on his bed and watch Moana on his ceiling. And so he put himself into this environment, and he's like, I ended up like getting rid of the video that he was trying. He was testing it because some people said they could watch video on the ceiling. And so he tried it. He's like, I got rid of the video because it was so peaceful just looking up into the stars and the sky and the sounds around you. And he's like, it was absolutely amazing. I was in a different place. And I've talked about this on the show before. Like that kind of stuff sells it to me. So
I'll say this. What all of that comes down to me, especially when we're comparing iPad to Vision Pro and Vision Pro being a replacement.
Yeah.
The price difference. Now, do you get certain things in the Vision Pro that the iPad can't do? Yeah. Right? You can't immerse yourself in your iPad like you just said, Jason Snell, that you can't have a virtual, screen, right? You can get an iPad for $200-$300. You know what I mean? So I guess where I'm at with it is to your point from last episode, we will see cheaper versions of the Vision line.
Right.
But you got to start out with the big one, get all the sales, work out all the kinks, figure out how you can then, especially like in the, the manufacturing process, how you can bring costs down, supply chain this, all yada. But like we've seen this before in every Mac lineup, right? They make it, and then as the longer they make it, the cheaper the other, the less impressive models go. It's just a matter of time. I would be much more comfortable having this sort of discussion once we know what the other entries in the Vision lineup are going to look like and going to cost and what they can actually do, right? Because we expect the technology, as far as like software and capability and power, to improve. That just seems to be a baseline assumption. With every iteration of the software, it's going to become more efficient, more powerful, yada, yada. Like that's just a given. So I don't understand how people, after having the first version of a product for a week, can be like, oh, the iPad's doomed.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Maybe for power users it is, but for the rest of humanity, tablets are a very affordable way for people to have access to computers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyways, I think we have plenty more to talk about, so I don't want to die on this tale. I just thought it was like, gosh, holy hot takes. It's been 5 days.
Well, and a lot of them are admitting, and I haven't listened to all of ATP yet on this, but a lot, I think just about every episode of a podcast that I've listened to this week about this, they're all admitting these are first impressions, that they're still a little overwhelmed and stuff by this device. One phrase that I've heard a lot is, Mike Hurley said it a couple times earlier this week about just sensory overload in the device, because it's just like, you get into it and they're like, where do I go? And I think that's part of the reason that Apple's doing the in-store demos for them, is to kind of, okay, let's walk you through this a little bit, help you understand what this device is about. So, well,
and here's another thing that blows my mind really quick. Sorry. This device is $3,500. Mike Hurley and his wife flew from London to the Bay Area, met Tim Cook.
Nope, not the Bay Area. He went to New York.
Oh, New York. Okay, sorry. Still, they flew across the ocean, 2 people to purchase, and like it's their money, and if they can afford that, good for you. I mean, well done. That's like take a trip, take a vacation to New York, meet Tim Cook, get your I'm jealous that you can afford that. That's great. Well done, Mike, for building a very successful podcast network. You and Steven. Fantastic. But I was just like, I just live in a different world, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not judging him. I was just like, holy cow, that is an investment in money. And I get it's
not available
also
outside of the United States, so that's why they had to do it.
Right,
or
but
that's
it's
why
also
he wanted to do it, I should say.
But it's also his job, right? He is on multiple Apple focused podcasts. You know what I mean? So like, I totally get why they did it. And shoot, if you can go to New York, why wouldn't you? You know?
Yeah.
But I was just like, I saw that and I was like, oh wow, that is. I mean, crazy is not the right word, but just like expensive is like, man, they dropped some cash on that. Anyways, we can move on because we have more important things to talk about.
But I mean, when like one of the things that's been talked about a lot is the personas. We haven't touched on that yet. So let's just admit they're bad.
They're so creepy.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done on these, and they are working to improve them. Apparently, Vision 1.1 is in beta right now, and the personas have been improved some, but there's still a lot of work to do. And Jason Snell's talked a lot this last week about him and Mike Hurley did a call, and they were on the call for a good half an hour or so. They wanted to really test out the personas and see how things worked. Now, Mike Hurley says that he thinks it's because of the beard. His mouth wouldn't move. So he's talking and his mouth's not moving. But if you think about the way the cameras are shooting down, if you've got a beard that sticks out and it can't see your mouth, how does it know to move your mouth? Yeah. You know, so that might be something that
because his beard's pretty bushy.
Yeah. So and my mustache probably would get in the way. You know, mine sticks out just a little bit, so it's a possibility that it would get in the way. But you know, if I get a Vision Pro, you'll probably see me shave my mustache. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. But at least trim it back. But there's they both said that it was kind of like having somebody else in the room with them. Like it felt comfortable. I mean, it was you have to go back and listen to, I think Jason talked a lot about it on MacBreak Weekly this last week. And he's like, it was weird. Like they're not really good right now, but at the same time, it didn't feel like you were talking to a cartoon character. It didn't feel like you were, it did kind of feel a little bit like you were in the room with someone else. And that was his impression of the time that he spent, doing that. So it's not a good experience if you're in Zoom with a bunch of people and you're the only one that's in a Vision Pro.
looks like you're made out of watercolor paint.
Yeah. But again, like let's say 5 years down the road, it looks like you, and they've gotten to where they need to get to.
I don't know, man. Makes me uncomfortable.
It's always the mouth. It's always the mouth that gets people because
it's so eyes, hard right? You can't
to synthesize mouth movement.
Right, but also the eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you make eye contact with another in the flesh human being, you're not just like there's an actual connection that happens, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're seeing someone digitally, there's nothing in the eyes.
Yeah.
They're just, you know what I mean? And I think that's part of the reason why animation that looks cartoony is so much more easy to watch and less disturbing than this like the animation that lives in this uncanny valley. You can't recreate humanity or life in digital or paper and pen animation, right? And that's why none of us get weirded out when we watch a Mickey Mouse or a Bluey or, any of the Pixar movies, because they don't look like real people. Their bodies are out of proportion. Their eyes are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the closer you get to like trying to recreate actual life in animation, it's weird. It's unsettling because you're like, that's not a live thing, but it looks like it should be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get to a place where I'm confused.
That's fair.
Is that a real person? I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So anyways, get off my lawn. Right? That's
well, there's been a lot of talk this last week about the immersive experiences that they do, being able to, like, legit feeling like you're in the room. Like Alicia Keys was the one that gets brought up a lot because they'd have a demo of her, or they have basically a concert of hers that was done in an immersive environment, that you're basically sitting in the environment and she's singing to you, which I would find super creepy. But you're like, it's like,
she's got a really good voice though.
Yeah. But the way they talk about it, it is like having a private concert from a talented artist, and you're just in a Vision Pro. Like, you know, it's a very different experience. But
that's like actual footage, like real footage of her, not her persona.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved past the personas. So, we agree on this.
Yeah. Can we talk about eyesight for a second?
I think this is a dumb feature.
We finally found something we doesn't like about it. All right.
I feel like future versions of this are still going to have this, but I think when they start to cut the price down, your lower end version is going to lose this feature, and I think that's a good thing. Right now, like the ones that they showed in June were really bright. You could see their eyes, everything. You know, it just looked like they were using a ski goggle.
Skin tone as best as they could, right?
The shipping version of this, it looks dim. It looks discolored. It's not good.
It's blue.
Yeah. It kind of makes you look like you're in a Smurf environment. But I take that back. That was dumb. But not dumber than the eyesight feature. But anyway. No, I think that this feature should just go away. I think this should be the touch bar of the Vision.
Yeah, it just feels like a gimmick, right?
Yeah.
A very expensive, unnecessary one.
I understand what they're trying to do here, but I don't think to have a feature like this that looks terrible really doesn't achieve what you're trying to achieve, because it's not your eyes. You know, if they came out with a version of this that was legitimately your eyes, like they were goggles, and they could do everything that they're doing with the current Vision Pro, but in more like goggles, I could see that being kind of a cool thing, but they can't do that. And maybe in the future they'll figure out a way to do it, but it's not gonna look right. So,
yeah, I just two thoughts. Like, I agree with you. It's just a dumb feature, and I don't understand how it got pushed through and how they were so proud of it. Because like they really pushed it. But the other thing, but just back to the personas. If this was what they landed on, and they're literally sitting on Memojis that already exist, that already track, you know what I mean, that you can send videos of, that with mouth move. Why not just do those? I'm sorry I went back to this up. I just can't move on right now. Why not just do Memojis instead of personas until personas don't look like trash? You already have the technology. It exists. Everyone's already accepted it. I don't understand that decision.
There's been a lot of conversation this last week about this, and I think I agree with them that they needed people to use this. And if they would have put out options, they would have never used it. So they right.
Terrifying.
So they need people to use this to get a lot of data to improve it. And as it's getting improved, 5 years from now, I could see a future where this is a really good feature. Like, it looks good. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like you, but it looks good. And is a legit like way to be able to do those voice calls or those video calls. Right now it's not. and I totally agree with you. But I think that there could be a future where you're looking at somebody that looks like the person you're talking to. But having said that, I do think that when they're feeling really good about where the personas are going, I think they will open it up to be able to do other things, because they've done that in other areas too. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's something. I think it's more like if we give them these options, then we're not going to get the data that we need to improve this feature. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, from their perspective, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But from a user perspective, I don't like being. Not that I'm going to use it, so it doesn't matter. But it just. Anyways, let's move on. Productivity.
I think this goes back to a lot of what we've talked about with when we talked about the iPad and the relation here. I think you could set up an office to be able to use this very cleanly to get a lot of stuff done, and not need to have an office that's cluttered up with screens and with a lot of hardware. I can kind of imagine an office that's nice and clean and minimal, that maybe there's a laptop on the desk, and you've got some speakers for whatever you're doing, and it's nice and clean and neat, and it doesn't have, like right now, I don't even know how many cords I've got running behind this desk, for being able to hook up all the stuff I have hooked up here. I mean, they're all in a little channel below my desk, just laying in that channel. And if I could eliminate a lot of that wiring, I think that could be really cool. And be able to still get the functionality of being able to have my Mac up in front of me, be able to have my email off to the side, have my messages off over here, and be able to be working on stuff and seeing other things. Or better yet, I'm sitting in an environment where I can't really focus, and I turn the digital crown on it, and I take myself out of that environment into another environment where I can focus more on what I'm working on. And I think that would be another key feature for me. So to be able to have a regular environment that I can work in, that I can get stuff done in without being distracted by the things that are going on around me.
Okay. A couple of questions to clarification. You compare it with a Mac, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can also compare it just with a Bluetooth keyboard, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't support multi-touch yet.
So help me out with multi-touch. What are you looking for with multi-touch?
Like, I can't type on a digital keyboard.
You can type on a digital keyboard. There's a digital keyboard in the thing. It sucks.
Right, but like, can I touch 4 things at once and it recognize all 4 of them?
That I doubt, because it's going to be like the keyboard on an iPad. It's going to give you all the functionality that virtual keyboard on the iPad gives you.
Okay, so you can pinch to zoom, right, and rotate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't like play digital piano and it recognize all the.
Well, I mean, are you talking about having like a MIDI keyboard plugged into it and be able to? You're talking about being able to see it in front of you.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. Presumably, the hand tracking should be able to do that. It's just a matter of having an app that can take advantage.
Right.
Of
Yeah,
that.
and I don't think one of those exists. But I guess what I'm trying to understand is the amount of input it can handle from tracking my hands at like in a singular input, right? Or singular moment of input. You know, if I'm zooming a picture with my left hand, can I delete a note with my right hand at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, what's the level of tracking input it can handle?
I think so you have to understand that whatever you're doing in the Vision Pro is what you're looking at. So if you if you're doing something over to your right, you're looking at that thing and you're pinching and zooming and doing the motions that you need to move. Now, understand, you don't have to have your hands up. You can have your hands in your lap doing this. And you just look over and you pinch and you zoom and you grab the grab bar. It has everything to do with what you're looking at. That's what the eye tracking is doing. So
if I'm looking at, let's just say I'm looking at my email,
mm-hmm.
and I want to delete something, but I also know that I have a window open to my left that I just want to get rid of.
Yeah,
I can't do that without looking at it.
Yeah, you can't do both. It's whatever.
So I can't look pass on this. Is what you're saying. I can't be a good point guard and just do stuff without looking. Okay,
right,
all right.
Mm-hmm.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Now, connected to that, there's another thing that's been discovered this last week that is actually really incredible and answers a question as to why does this feature exist, other than the fact that I use it a lot, but universal control. So if you have the Mac up in front of you, you have iPad apps on either side, and you have a trackpad in front of you that you're using, you can move that trackpad from window to window. It just jumps from window to window in each of the windows that you have open. It doesn't move in the space of Vision Pro. So does that make sense? It moves from window to window. You don't see it in between the windows. So it's like you have multiple displays around you and you're moving it from one display to the next display. So there's been talk by a few of the guys on podcasts that I've heard this last week that have the device, that they have their keyboard and their Magic Trackpad in one of the 12 South, I forget what they call it, but it's just the little thing they put it in, so that they can sit on a couch and type and move things around and be productive within that environment with a keyboard and trackpad. So, and in that case, yes, you can use multi-gestures on the trackpad. Anything that you would normally do on your Mac or on an iPad, you can do with that. So, but yeah, a lot of people this last week have said this is why universal control was designed or developed.
Well, and it seems like, because I know the Vision Pro is paired to the Mac, right? And then the iPad apps are on Vision OS, right? But like it seems like, never mind. That's not going to make sense. Let's move on. I just convinced myself that was going to be a stupid thing to say.
Okay, all right, we'll move on. All right, I think another thing to talk about is movies and environments to watch movies in. I think this is a really interesting thing. There's been a lot of talk about 3D movies this last week. And and the fact that this is actually a really good way to watch 3D movies. But you can also tell bad 3D movies, like bad 3D conversions, a lot easier, because the movies, like if you went into a theater years ago and 3D movies were a big deal, you would go in there and you'd put glasses on and it would dim everything down. You would get the cool effect, but it was kind of dim. It wasn't real bright. The thing is, you go and watch these movies in Vision Pro, they're full brightness. So you see everything. It's clear. What they did say is like the new Avatar movie looks amazing in Vision Pro because of the depth that you see. Now it doesn't come out towards you. It's in a window and there's depth to the window, if that makes sense. It's very much like the whatever they call those 3D video capture. The name's escaping me right now, but there's depth to the frame, so which I think is interesting.
Have you heard anyone talk about the quality of the audio that comes out of those little tiny speakers on the headset? Because that to me is the biggest aspect of how the movie experience would be. Like obviously it's going to look, because you can put the giant screen on the, you know what I mean, on the wall, so you don't need to project, that part's cool, but audio is what makes or breaks that experience.
So the reviews that I've heard, most everybody is agreed that it sounds incredible. Really good spatial audio. I did hear, I think it was Casey Liss on ATP say that he thought it was incredible, but it wasn't as good as the AirPods 2 or AirPods Pro 2 paired with it. So if you can,
and
through that,
because those are actually in your ears, where these are sitting like right in front of them, right?
Right.
And they don't.
I think if I'm watching a movie, I'm using some kind of headphones or the AirPods Pro 2 probably.
Yeah, and I for as small as the AirPods Pro, I have the original AirPods Pro, not the second one. And for as little as they are, they do sound really good. And I'm not an audiophile, right? I don't have, high whatever FLAC, I don't have a digital audio I'm not Federico, right? I'm not like I'm not an audiophile, but
and I'm not.
I do have,
to be honest. I do a lot of audio, but I'm really not that. I'm a producer of audio, but I'm not somebody that needs my audio perfect all the time. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but my point is like I have a Sonos surround sound system in my living room, and I know for a fact that's going to sound better than the AirPods Pro, the AirPods Max, the Vision Pro, simply because physics, right? I'm literally surrounded by speakers, and they're bigger so that they can have, and I have a subwoofer, and I have, so like, and that's an unfair comparison. I'll be honest. But if, as you said, they're comparing this to AirPods Pro 2 spatial audio, that's impressive because they're tiny. They're sitting, and they're directed towards your ear. So that's just something that like I would want to experience. Just like if I'm going to go to the store and try one of these on, if that's ever allowed, once they get past the initial.
It's allowed right now. You can go
is it? You can just go in and try it. You don't have to have an appointment to buy one.
I would. No, the appointments are for the try-ons. You can make an appointment for a try-on.
Even with zero intent to buy.
With zero intent to buy. Yep.
All right.
I'm actually tempted to do that down in Madison at some point. So
yeah, I was going to say there's an Apple store 20 minutes from me, so that might have to happen at some point just for funsies.
My wife is
because that's the one thing that I would really want to check out is like how good is the audio experience. Right. Anyways, all right, cool, good to know.
Yeah, so I think the audio is pretty legit. Now, to your comparison, my thought right now, when it comes to the audio from the AirPods 2, I'm pretty impressed by, when I watch something or when I watched the season finale, I think, of Monarch, which had a huge, really cool fight scene between Godzilla and like this bat creature. I'm sure it has a name that I don't know, but it was an awesome fight scene. And my AirPods were like rumbling and were it was good. Like I was not unhappy with the audio at all. But what you're getting with your Sonos is you can feel it too.
Yes.
And I think that's what you're missing. I don't know that the sound is worse, but rather than, it just being confined to your ears, you're feeling it too throughout your body. And that is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're actually, like I said, I'm physically surrounded by speakers, right? And the subwoofer in a intense battle scene, you'll feel the vibrations.
Right.
Well, you will feel, like you said, you will feel it in your body because you are it is literally immersive because you are in the middle of the speakers. But that, like, to your point, I agree with you. The AirPods, like, for what they are, sound really good.
They do.
Like to the point where, like I said, I have the original ones. I have no desire to upgrade to the 2s because these are still really good. Like, I don't even have the chargeable case. Like, I have the very first iteration of the AirPods Pro. I don't know how many years I've had them, but like, they're still awesome.
You're talking about the wirelessly charged case. Yes.
Yeah, the Qi charger or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually have to plug it in.
Okay.
So like I have the very first iteration of the AirPods Pro, and they're still doing a great job.
Yeah,
so.
I had those, and I got the rattle in both sides, and had to.
I forgot about that. Yeah, and they were going to charge you an absurd amount of money to replace them.
Yeah, more than what they were worth. Yeah.
so dumb.
Mitch bought some new ones. So
yeah, golly.
But anyway. No, I think the movie experience is incredible. I've heard that some of the environments that they have for the movies are really good. Like, that they've got theaters that you can go to depending on the app. There's some apps that like Disney Plus has some really cool, like you can watch movies in Avengers Tower. You can watch,
okay, that'd be
you can watch movies sitting in the speeder on Tatooine and from Star Wars. There's just a lot of like really neat environments that they're offering in the different apps. Now, I agree with a few people. I've heard this last week. It would be really cool to see them be able to open up an API so that those are available all over, like, just outside of the app as well.
Here's a question I have. Can I watch Star Wars from nestled in the belly of a tauntaun yet?
Not yet.
That's what I need to know.
No.
Okay.
I think it'd be gross. And they smell funny too.
Well, I don't have to smell it. I just want the warmth,
Yeah. Because you think they smell bad on the outside.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, that's a pull. Anyway. But games, I think, will be interesting. I don't know that they haven't put a lot of focus on games with the Vision Pro yet. But most of I think probably most, if not all, your Apple Arcade games should be available in that. But they're not going to be big, fully immersive environments yet either. I think that's coming, but I don't know of anything that's available yet that's immersive. So, and I thought somebody said that there's a version of Beat Saber, like somebody made a version of Beat Saber for this, or that it was coming.
You read my mind.
So, but I know some people want to see Supernatural on there too. But these are all apps that are owned by Facebook right now or by Meta. So unless Meta is going to offer those.
Yeah. What's Supernatural? I'm not familiar with
Supernatural is supposed to be a fitness game. The one thing I've seen looks a little bit like I imagine Beat Saber looks like, but where they're whacking things, moving past them with sticks. But it's a fitness game that's available for the Meta stuff,
gotcha.
the Meta Quest, or whatever they call it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Quest, Meta Quest.
But I will reiterate my statements from the last episode. This is not for me right now. 30. I'll tell you what. If I knew what I know now about the first Apple Watch, I probably wouldn't have bought it because it was rough. And I think the Vision Pro, for all of the polish that's on it, you can see all the cracks too. Like it's still, and those will become a perfect device.
No, yeah. And once the people that we've mentioned in this podcast, right, that have them get past the honeymoon phase or past the overwhelm phase, then we'll start hearing, oh, this is weird, that's broken, this needs to go away.
They're all already talking about having to, reboot the device to get it to work. There's the battery. The battery should be hot swappable, and it's not. So you got to shut down the device to remove the battery. So if you had two batteries with you, let's say you're on a plane flight and you want to watch a movie in it, and you've got two batteries with you, and you want to hot swap them, you have to shut down the device, take the battery off, put the new battery on, boot it back up, and start over. And the one thing that the Vision Pro doesn't do that I think that it will do soon is that it doesn't save your like your setup. So I thought it was interesting. I'll get to this in a second. There's something that I think is super interesting about this. But if you're sitting in your office and you have your Mac in front of you, you've got some apps up around you, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, I'm running out of power. You can plug it in. You can plug the battery pack in, but let's say you want to go charge the battery pack somewhere else or whatever. Let's say you're in an instance where you need to disconnect the power and connect to something else, you have to shut that down, reconnect, turn it back on, and now you got to arrange your windows the way they were before. They're not persistent. So,
really,
yeah. So something that happened to Jason Snell, which they were joking about on MacBreak this last week, and actually the title of the show came from this. You can leave stuff in different places in your home. Like you can move through the house. And so he left his settings app in the garage. And so he walks through the house and realized, oh shoot, the settings app, I left it in the garage. So he had to go back down there and close it and go back to his other office. And so
that's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw one of the videos that MKBHD posted on his Instagram where he had set up his screens in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then he walked over to get something from his car, turned around, and you could see the backs of the screens just floating there. And then he walked back and was like, okay, I can start working again.
Yeah. So,
and just because it was in a parking lot, it was hysterical. He just like got something out of his car or walked away and then looked back and you could just see them floating exactly where he'd left them.
Mm-hmm. No, but I mean that you can do that in the house like this. Like I'm down in my studio in the basement. I can get up and I can walk upstairs. I can go grab something. I come back downstairs and all my video monitors are here. I could go and set a timer on something upstairs and put the timer next to it and then come back down here. The timer goes off. I go back up there. My timer's still sitting there. Yeah. You know, one of the cool things I saw somebody doing that was demoing the Apple Vision Pro was they had like 3 different things on the stove and they had a timer over each thing for when each thing was supposed to be done. And so they're cooking with the Vision Pro on and who was that? I want to say that it was Joanna Stern that did that. But I thought that was a really cool application where you could see like this thing is going to be done first, that's going to be done next, and this other thing is going to be done next. And so you knew like you had your timers all kind of just hovering over each thing. So I thought that was kind of neat.
I just thinking that's probably not a good device to have over, something steaming.
So she even said that they don't recommend you use it for cooking, but yeah.
All right. Vision Pro, folks.
Yeah. I'm excited about the potential of this device. It's hard to be excited about what the device is today. A little bit, but with that, the price really kills that. If they were to get this down to be like a $1,500 or $2,000 device, they take the eyesight off of it, which I'm not interested in. Maybe there's a couple other things that they can do that. You got ghosts over there?
I just heard a really weird noise.
Yeah, I heard something like it dropped. Yeah, I heard it too. Anyway, your house is
I'm not dead yet.
Is your house
haunted? If you see anyone coming from either of these directions.
What? The problem is that I'm going to point over here, and because the video is backwards, I'm going to be pointing the wrong direction. Or at least it looks like the wrong direction from here. No, I heard it too. But
all right, so I'm not going. That was weird, man. Sorry.
Anyway,
It sounds like something rolled off my table onto the floor. But
it did.
Why would that happen?
Yeah. Ghosts.
Anyways.
So again, the device would have to get down to about $1,500, $2,000, get rid of the eyesight, which is probably one of the ways they would get it down to that price. And improve, some good quality of life improvements of it, like a lot of the bugginess and different things that they're having problems with right now, a better app library, a better native app library, stuff like that. I think we'll see that within the next few years. But I think 5 years from now, I could have a much different opinion than what I have right now. And it's the potential of this device that I'm most excited about.
Well, and I would hope we would have a different opinion of it.
Yeah. I might try, I might go down to the Apple store and try this. My wife's got surgery here in a few weeks down at at a hospital down in Madison that's not far from the Apple store, and her surgery is supposed to take a couple hours. So I thought, I got a couple hours. I could probably run over there and see if I get an appointment for a try on and check it out. So, but then I feel bad because I should really be there for her, but she probably wouldn't care. I don't know. I have complicated feelings about that.
Just FaceTime the surgeon with your persona from the Apple Store, because I've heard it's like talking to someone who's actually in the room.
Perfect. We'll do it. So dumb. Anyway, so all right, well, let's go ahead and we got to get the show wrapped up. So let's go ahead and find out what's delighting us today. So Cam, what's delighting you?
I have started rewatching one of the best comedy television shows of all time, and it's called Psych. And it makes me chuckle and giggle and laugh and squeal with happiness. Premise of the show, if you're not familiar, is that the main character was the son of a detective who helped him develop essentially a photographic memory, and he pretends to be a psychic detective. I think I've talked about this on the show before, maybe a while ago, but I just started rewatching it, and it's ludicrous and stupid, and there's references to 80s movies and music, and it is like right up my alley in every way. So yeah, I'm rewatching it, and it's great, and I think you should watch it too.
All right.
If you have a great sense of humor and don't mind a little bit of stupidity.
Well, I don't think we care about stupidity too much around here.
Well, not when it comes to comedy, but
yeah. It's good stuff.
Other things I care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it. It makes me giggle.
All right. Excellent.
What's delighting you, sir?
I had one thing that I was really, this is a thing I'm going to talk about today. And then I had two other things pop up. But I think I'm going to stick with my original thought is I finished watching Invasion this last week. It's a Apple TV Plus show about, they're 2 seasons in. So I finished watching the second season this last week, and the first season was good. I would say the first season felt like there was always going to be a jump scare right around the corner. It's very suspenseful. And the funny thing is that there never was, but they just did such a great job of like keeping you on pins and needles. It was really good. But it laid out a story about an alien invasion of Earth, and all the things that happened during this invasion. It centered around, I think, 3 or 4 different characters, at least 4 different characters, or groups of characters, and takes you through this journey. Now, in season 2, it starts out relatively strong. It dips real hard in the middle of the season, to the point where I almost kind of wondered if I wanted to continue watching it. And then it started ramping up towards the end. And the last episode, the season finale of season 2 was like mind blowing. And I'm super excited for the second season. I have theories about this, which I wish I could talk about, but it was one of those things where like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought was happening. And the funny thing is like the show kind of leans into it a little bit and then pulls back. It's like, I think this is what's happening here. And then it's like, oh, we're going to pull back a little bit. And we gave you a little view into what is actually happening here, but we're now going to make you doubt what you're thinking. And it was just brilliant.
So by comparison, bigger twist and surprise than the end of Silo season 1.
No. So Silo definitely was a bigger twist.
Okay. This
was more like, there's probably some parallels you could make to Silo, but it wasn't like that. It was more, okay. It was a very subtle lean into something, to kind of open up your thought into thinking that something wasn't the way you thought it was. and then they lean back into what they were making you believe all this time, because the characters don't see it. The characters don't understand this aspect of it. So so I think it's one of those things where I think next season they'll lean harder into this so that you start to realize what the truth is of what's going on. Mm-hmm. But they just kind of gave you a little bit of a taste, and then they pulled back a little bit. So
gotcha.
So cool. I was really, really excited to, in that last episode. So it was one of those times where I sat up off the couch and I'm like, what? Like, could it be that this is what's actually going on? And I think I actually said something out loud. I was alone watching it, but I think I actually said something out loud because it excited me that much. So, but nice. It's a good show. I wouldn't say a great show, but if you enjoy stuff like Lost, Silo is a good comparison show to it. Where you have this kind of secret, or you kind of like they're just kind of unveiling a little bit at a time as to what's going on, and you dive into a little bit of what human like character, how people would handle being in a situation like this. It's very interesting, the process that they go through and the things that they do throughout the show, based on that. So it's a good show. I highly recommend it.
All right. There you go, folks. 2 very different television recommendations.
Yeah, very much so. If you can't handle really high suspense, this might not be a show for you. But if you give it 3 episodes and you're hooked, keep going. Like it gets good. So,
all right.
But yeah, very cool. Anything else you want to talk about today?
Nope.
I think we
covered it all.
We're well over an hour now, so I think we're good. So. All right. Well, let's wrap her up. If you are interested in finding out more about Cam and I and the back catalog of the show and anything else that's going on, you can check us out at innerdialogue.show. And we also have a presence on YouTube. I know we were talking earlier. We're not like hitting the top of the charts or anything when you search for us, so you might have to search a little bit deeper. I did find us relatively easily by searching Inner Dialogue Podcast on YouTube, so I probably would recommend doing it that way. But all the episodes will be up there. I think YouTube's got a funny thing, or maybe Squarespace. I'm not sure, but it only sent up the last 100 episodes when I had it ingested. So this wasn't a problem with our podcast here because we haven't hit 100 episodes yet. But it was a problem with our couple of podcasts that I do for the church. So.
Yeah, I had that same limit on my other show that I do. It only just last 100 episodes.
And so ATP was able to get all 672 episodes up there. So I'm not sure if that's why I'm wondering if it has to do with the limit on Squarespace. So I don't know.
We shall look into it and report back.
Right on. All right. Well, if you want to find out more about me, you can find me at mitchcraig.online. And Cam, where can people find your shiny new website?
CamBrennan.com.
Excellent.
Same URL. New. Never mind. I can't.
New and improved.
I got nothing.
CamBrennan.com. All right.
All right, man. Tripped and fell over that one. Right on my face.
All right, right there. All right, Cam.
Great way to end a show too.
It's been fun. I have a great week.
You too.